Good evening. I am Dorsey Hopson, Superintendent of Shelby County Schools. Let me first start out by thanking each and every one of you all for coming out this evening. I know this is a very emotional and important and sensitive subject, and we got to get it right. Let me just give you all some context. Let me back up first recognize the board members here. They're here to hear your concerns. In the past, we've done school closures, and typically what happens is you show up at the schools, we present some data, we hear public comment, and I think in every instance that's occurred, we just close the schools. And the thought has always been this is a done deal, this is going to be rubber stamped, and that's just simply not the case. When we brought these recommendations last year, you heard most of the board members, in fact all of the board members say, you know what, we want to have some serious dialogue with the public, we want to hear from the community. And I will tell you, I mean, I'm from Memphis. I've seen this done piecemeal in different places. I've seen it done on a wide scale in different places. And I know in Memphis, we have never said we're going to sit down at the outset and have an honest discussion about this and hear from the community. So I think that the board deserves a lot of credit for making sure there was a real process that we could hear from the community. So what I want to do today is really just spend a few minutes talking about the issue we're here discussing today, and then talking about the rationale for why these schools were selected for closure, and then talking about the process moving from here. So essentially what has happened is under board policy, if the administration thinks that some schools should be closed or repurposed or whatever, we have to make recommendations to go into this process. Then we hear from the public, and then we create a final document in the form of a final recommendation. So that's where we are right now. No final decisions have been made, but we are in this process. Now, having said that, each and every one of the schools that have been selected for closure, the decision is based on very real factors that I'm going to share with you. Namely, enrollment is low in most or all of these schools. The population trend suggests that the population in a lot of these areas is just declining. I'll share with you, to be honest with you, be real with you. Look, I'm from Whitehaven. I grew up in South Memphis. Before I got to Whitehaven, over by Wicks in Mississippi. And when I was 6, 7, 8 years old, playing with my cousins over on by Wicks in Mississippi on Walker, it was like kids. It just was. Fast forward 30 years, and the number of kids are just not there. I mean, nobody's going to argue with me about the population trends. It just is what it is. And what we know is that if you have a lot of schools with small enrollment, you don't have the resources to do the treatment for schools that they need. What you're going to see up here, I'm assuming, is going to hurt you like it hurts me. Because I will sit up here and tell you, I don't know what superintendent tell you, what I will sit up here and tell you is that we have failed these schools. That's right. For a long time. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We have not done a good job of taking the resources that we have and making sure that we're doing all we can to make sure that our students have the best chance to succeed. Because if you are like me, and I believe this to my core, you all know I'm not a traditional educator, but I'm from a family of educators. I've seen a whole lot of poor people. I've seen a whole lot of poor people. And what I know is that, education for a whole lot of our babies is the last best chance for people to change their life. So if we're not providing quality education, then we're doing kids a disservice. Now I want to talk about this, but before I get into that, I want to just spend a few minutes talking about what our priorities are, what the board has adopted as its priorities as it relates to education. You're going to hear a whole lot from me over the next few months. We're going to be talking about the ABCs to success. And what that essentially means on one level is we want to increase academic achievement. We want our business operations to be more smooth, we'll run more efficiently. and we want more community engagement. So I'm glad from a community engagement piece to see all of you all out here today. And I hope that no matter what happens, what final decisions are made, you all will continue to be engaged, because whether your kids at this school or that school, the kids still need engagement. We still need the community's best thinking. So I'm going to challenge each and every one of you all that when the dust settles for this, don't forget about these things. Let's keep on having the same. When I walked in, I heard, save my school, save my school, save my school. I thought I was a pep rally. We need to pep rally for these babies every single chance that we get, no matter what happens. Now, when we talk about the ABCs, I'm just going to spend a few minutes talking about the academic achievement. From my standpoint, we've got 3 levers that we really need to focus on. The first one is we've got to make sure that we improve the literacy rate here in Memphis and Shelby County. As a non-educator, when I first saw the numbers, it blew my mind. You're talking about inside the city of Memphis, our 3rd graders, and how you read at the end of 3rd grade is a big predictor for a lot of things, whether you're going to go to college, whether you're going to be successful, whether you're going to do this, whether you're going to do that. And if you can't, it's a big predictor for all the bad things that are likely to go wrong. Well, we got 28% of our kids reading at proficient or advanced level in inner city Memphis. That means almost 70% of our babies can't read. That's abysmal. And we've got to do a whole lot better job of that. So that's going to be the focus in the academic sort of agenda. The second one is we got to make sure that every classroom has an effective teacher and every schoolhouse has an effective leader. Maybe I'm stupid, but I believe, I don't care about all these programs, and computer, and this, that, and other. The most important factor in whether or not somebody is receiving a good education is that teacher who's standing in front of them every single day. So we've got to make sure that we're having highly effective teachers in the classroom, and as an administration, we've got to make sure we're supporting teachers, we're providing the teacher support that's necessary, we're compensating teachers like the professionals that they are, and we're giving teachers the best opportunity to succeed. We've got to make sure we do that. We've got to make sure every school has an effective principal, because the principal is essentially the straw that stirs the drink, and if we don't have effective principals, then we're not going to get where we need to be. And then finally, we've got to make sure that we pay particular attention to these low-performing schools. I'm sure you all have heard about the ASD. And the reason I mention ASD because their charge is to come in and take the schools that are in the quote-unquote bottom 5% of the schools in the state of Tennessee and turn them around. Well, unfortunately, just real talk, this is what it is. We got about 80 or some odd bottom 5% schools, and about 68 of them are right here in Memphis, right in our backyard. So we've got to make sure that we focus on and provide treatment for those schools. And I believe we do those things, focus on literacy, make sure we have effective teachers and principals in every school, and focus on the chronically underperforming schools, then we can get a lift. And if we get a lift, these babies will benefit. Now, having said that, here's the proposed slate of closures. In the southwest region, we have Alsea Elementary School, Magnolia, Riverview Elementary School, Graves Elementary School, West Haven Elementary School. I'm gonna give the parking lot right here for a minute on West Haven. West Haven is being recommended for closure simply because of the condition of the building. I know that there are a lot of people who are love West Haven. I have offended for West Haven, but the issue with West Haven is simply that you're coming up on an issue where the building is being close to not being safe for babies to be in. So I don't care what you tell me. If I don't feel like the babies are going to be safe in there, I'm not going to keep it open. That's just the end of that. We can talk about plans and different things, but if the building ain't safe, we're not going to have our kids in there. And I don't think anybody's going to argue with me about that. Lanier Middle School to Maceo Walker, Corey Middle School, you see up on the side ASD phase in. What has traditionally happened is when the ASD comes in and takes over a school, we've essentially operated 2 schools in the school. So ASD comes in, they operate some of Corey, the Shelby County schools operate some of Corey. That's not efficient. So what we're saying to the ASD is either you take over the whole school, or we're going to rezone those kids who you have not phased into other schools. So that's all the ASD phase in that needs. Riverview Middle School to Carver High School, I'm going to park here for a minute too, because anybody who tells you that we just you know, throw something up and this is what we're gonna do, we don't listen to the community, has not taken a look at Carver. Because I see people out here from Carver, I'm gonna ask them to raise their hand, when we talked through the process and we said, look, give us a plan. If you give us a plan, you bring a problem, you bring a solution. We don't have any just innate desire to close schools. If you can give us a workable plan, we can work with you, work your plan, then we won't close the school. The good folks at Carver, through a lot of analysis and good work, came up with a plan. And instead of closing Carver, it made more sense for that community to merge Riverview into Carver. Now, there are going to be some challenges that we're going to have to deal with in having a 6 through 12 school, namely having, you know, 11 and 12-year-olds and 18-year-olds, but we're going to work through those challenges. Northwest, we got Gordon Elementary and Caldwell, Guthrie, Klondike and Shannon ASD phase in, Vance Middle School to BTW High School, same thing, similar situation as Riverview and Carver. Cypress Middle School to Grandview Middle School. Northside High School, we closed to Manassas High School and East High School. And let me just dig a little deeper with you. Again, I'm just what it is. This is what the state report card data says about these schools. Not gonna sugarcoat it, it's just what it is. So if you look over to the left, there's a grade that the school gets for achievement. Now the state uses a set of data to give all schools in the state a letter grade. I'm not happy about seeing all those F's up on the board, I'm sure you're not either. That's just what it is. You look on the left-hand side, it's not my grading system, that's what it is. So let's just be real about what we're talking about. And I say that just for context, because what this says to me is we got to do a much better job of giving families a better education. Those F's fall on me. Those F's fall on this administration. So we've got to come up with strategies to address that, because that is what we deal with. So if you look at ALSI, that's what it is. If you look on the right-hand side, that shows not just the grade as it relates to achievement, but it shows how the school is doing, whether there's growth. And I'm really proud about a lot of the A's on the right-hand side, because some of these schools, although the achievement numbers say F, the growth shows you there's a lot of teaching and learning going on. So we're proud. There are a lot of things to be excited about. It's not all gloom and doom, but I'm just trying to give you the full potato. So while there is, while the grades are not nearly where we need them to be, there is growth, positive stuff going on. So if you look at Graves, you look at West Haven, you look at Lanier, you look at Corey. I just want you guys to kind of drink this in for a few minutes. Look at Riverview, Gordon, Klondike, Shannon, Vance, Cypress, Northside. Now, what I asked them to highlight was, I'm gonna go back, the final right-hand side, for Central Proficient Advanced, that's in literacy. So how well are our babies reading in these schools? That's what it is. That's the percent of kids who are proficient in reading. So if you got 21, that means 79% of kids not proficient in reading. And that's just what the data shows for these schools. Here is a deeper dive in terms of the rationale for why these schools were selected. If you look, I'm going to just walk through it with you. If you start right here at ALSI, the enrollment, 286 students. The FCI speaks to what the building condition is. And the higher the FCI number, the more in need of repair the building is. If you look at the number of buses we need, if you look at the utilization of the schools once there's a merger, if that happens, and then the final is the rationale for the decision. So if you look up there, you see in some instances, you know, ALSI 286 kids, Corey 271 kids, Cypress 235 kids, Gordon 243 kids, Graves 233, Klondike 92, Lanier 391. And as I think, Northside is a particular concern to me. My mom's first teaching job was at Northside. I understand the love and the respect and the community that goes on there, and I also know that closing that facility is gonna be very tough on that community. I mean, closing any of these facilities is gonna have a negative effect on the communities that these schools sit in. I know that. So we're gonna also be charged with coming up with something, with some solutions for these vacant buildings. But if you look at Northside, and I know Northside has a lot of love, I see the orange all out there in the audience. But the reality is, Northside, the building is built for 1,061 kids. It's 293 kids in Northside. So when you start talking about the building utilization rate is 28%. And this is all I'm asking. This is all I'm asking. I'm just going to ask to be able now to have my presentation, because the purpose of this meeting is for you all to have a chance to talk. So you guys will be able to talk. I'm not going to interrupt you, I promise you. So if you just let me get through this, and you guys can talk, and if the board wants to comment afterwards, that's fine. I'm just asking to get through this. I know it's tough for you guys. I know it's emotional for you guys. It's emotional for me. I get stopped in the grocery store by people saying, don't close my school. Don't do this, don't do that. It's not easy work, but it's work in my judgment that needs to be done for student achievement. So I'm going to stand tall up here and I'm going to tell you about the reason for this analysis. So you got Lanier, you got Klondike, you got Graves, you got and that is the reason the low enrollment, the low utilization rate, the low student achievement are the main reasons for the recommendations. Now let me talk about where we go from here. This is not the end of the process, this is the beginning of the process. So what we're going to do is, we're going to come out to each and every one of these schools, except the schools that are being closed because they're being taken over by the ASD. We're going to come out to each of these schools and have more community forums just like this, so the community can be heard inside of these schools. What I'm going to be looking for as we have these discussions and these dialogues is, does the community have a better plan than closing the school? And what we're going to be looking for in the better plan, a big focus is there a community plan to increase the literacy rate at these schools? You don't have to have a lot of money to come down and volunteer and read to these babies. We've got all kind of programs that we can tell you about, all kind of community involvement plans and programs we can tell you about, where all it takes is time. So I'll give Carver credit. Carver came to us with a plan. If we like some aspects of the plan, change some aspects of the plan, tweak some aspects of the plan. So I'm challenging each and every one of you all, community organizations, everybody in here that has all this emotion and cares so much about this school, give us a plan, or give us some suggestions for a plan to not close these schools. Now let me just say this last thing, then I'm gonna sit down and I want to hear from you guys. The question becomes, how will closing these schools, how can this be something positive towards increasing student achievement? A couple of things. What we're working on now is, you're going to start to hear over the next few weeks about this concept called blended learning. And what blended learning is, I guess the best way to explain it is, I went on a field trip, so to speak, to Huntsville, Alabama a few weeks ago. And what Huntsville, Alabama does is every student in their school system gets a laptop or an iPad or some kind of learning device, which is supported by the district. So essentially, their curriculum that their kid uses is taught in class, and they also have access to it 24 hours. What we saw in there was amazing, and in my judgment, transformational. Teachers were saying, you know what, we don't have as many behavioral issues anymore because these kids are engaged with these learning devices. Even when they go home, parents say, well, you know what, now it used to be they're playing on the computer, doing this, that, and now they can use this computer to learn. You can have a student who's very advanced who may finish a semester in a few weeks because they can constantly be engaged, constantly learn. This is going to take a significant investment from our board, a financial investment. But what we're going to be recommending is, we obviously at this point don't have the funds to do blended learning for 100,000 plus kids. But we have asked schools who are interested in this process to apply, and I'm going to be directing staff to give a preference to the receiving schools. If a school is closed and those kids go somewhere else, we're going to be giving a preference for this process to try to increase the student achievement there. We also are working with the University of Memphis in a couple of literacy pilots. We're going to be placing a couple of those pilots in some of the receiving schools because we don't want this just to be we close some schools and save some money. I will tell you right now, you don't save enough money to justify closing schools by closing these schools. But if you can get a significant increase in student achievement, help these babies who can't read, learn how to read, then that's why you combine your resources. And that's what I'm interested in. For the schools that are receiving schools, the principals of those schools are going to have the opportunity to make sure that they are putting highly effective teachers in front of these students. We're going to give them a lot of autonomy in that regard. So those are some of that's my plan, that's my thinking, the next step thinking. I suspect we'll go through the process, and if you guys give me 10 great plans that make sense, that's going to increase student achievement, then that's what we'll go with. But to the extent there aren't better plans or better plans that I think or the board thinks, and we do have to close schools, there will be additional investments in the schools that are except the schools that are closed. That's what that's really, from my standpoint, why we made the decision. That's what the process is. That's what the vision is for the schools that remain open. So this is the time now where it's your meeting. What I want to do is just hear from each and every one of you all. We planned the meeting from 6 to 8 o'clock, and what we said was we were just going to take whatever the time was left and divide it. Everybody gets a chance to speak. There were a whole lot of people who signed up to speak, so Ms. Yellen is going to be the timekeeper and call names. When we finish up, come talk to me. If we need to have small group meetings or community meetings, let me know. We can work that out. And if it needs to be a point person, we can talk to whatever the plans are. We can say, yeah, this makes sense, yeah, it doesn't make sense. I'm open to all that. This is a community issue. As I keep saying, we're going to sink or swim together, but we got to make sure that every decision that we make is based on what's best for these babies. I appreciate you all listening.